your screens.
Some days I'm not myself. There's no one I can turn to.
Hello everybody, how you doing? My name is Natasha Krista and welcome to my story time. As you guys know, or my previous viewers know, that I have been talking about Francine Hughes, and I have part 1 with episodes, and now I'm on part 2, episode 1. So what I'm not going to do this time, I am not going to do one full video and then edit as the weeks go on. So if you're new to my channel, I think I should have said this first, huh? If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're not new to my channel, welcome back. And we're gonna get started. So if you watched my last episode on part 1, you will know that Francine is living with Mickey and they're not married. And he's going back to hitting her again after being separated from him for a while. And unfortunately, a tragic accident had made them basically come back together. Okay, so moving on from that, the violence with Mickey got so bad. Francine was starting to think that Mickey has like a mental problem from his accident, or he's just really, really angry that he's not as mobile as he used to be before the accident. Now, I have been recently doing my eyebrows before I start, but I'm going to do my eyebrows again on video in hopes that I get them right. And if I am doing something wrong, please comment and let me know what I can do to make it easier process, because I am struggling with my eyebrows. So yes, Francine at this point is just so over, because you know, after the time he did hit her, it just continued and it was getting really bad. It was getting worse. And at that point, she was like, okay, is either something really wrong mentally with this man, which is Mickey, or he's just using me to leash out his anger, which is, it's quite possible. You know, it is definitely quite possible. He's mad at the world, mainly probably mad at himself because he caused the injury on himself. So I'm sorry, I talk. If you see all of this, like, I talk a lot with my hands, which I'm gonna try and keep still. But yes, so I think that he is just mad that he put himself in this situation and just needs somebody. Oh, I gotta have to fix that. We're off to a rough start again. Have mercy. And at this point, I'm seeing like little pieces of my eyebrow coming out off the brush. But yeah, so that's pretty much, you know, what Francine is dealing with at this point, which I think I keep on saying it's sad because I really do think it's sad. And she knows, like, now that it's started to hit her again, that, you know, she's going to have a lot of how coming her way the longer she lives with Mickey. So she knows her future is not looking too sharp because it's going back in his way of hitting her again. There was a time where Mickey came home really drunk, and even though Francine was not married to Mickey, she still made sure that when he came home, he had a cooked meal. I don't know if I would have had the strength to do that. If anything, I know I would have been pissed the hell off due to the simple fact that I'm back stuck with this man after I divorced him, and, you know, she's in a situation now where she can't break free because financially she's not stable enough to move out. Now, I don't know what's going on. I started off really bad, and it's starting to frustrate me now. And I'm not gonna let it get to me. I feel like I've been doing good. Everybody has their own opinion. But I feel like I've been doing very good. I don't know. As the time goes on and the comments come in, I would know if I'm doing good or not. And one thing about me, I know that everybody in life has an opinion. I know people can be very rude and nasty, and some people can dish it but can't accept it back. I am not one to hold grudges. If anything, I think it's absolutely funny. Okay, Francine, even though she wasn't married to Mickey, she always made sure that the house was clean, his clothes were washed, and that he always came home to a cooked meal. Now, I'm assuming because he was drunk, and we all know when he gets drunk, he acts the royal fool. He did not really like what Francine cooked. And he was throwing insults, like he was really insulting her in front of her daughter. Basically, I think he still had felt some type of way where he had asked her if she would marry him and she said no. So, he wanted to be real nasty and say nobody will pay me enough to marry you again. And basically, I don't know what I was thinking being with you and having kids with you. Mind you, the daughter's there's witnessing and hearing all of this. And he ends up punching her. And at that point, Francine had told the daughter to go and run next door to the parents' house. They called the police. And, oh, no. And when the parents came over, they tried to break up Mickey and Francine. And he ended up throwing his father across the room, basically, and made a mistake and punched his mama in the face. And at that point, Francine is like, okay, well, if his parents are not safe, I really need to figure out a way to get out of here because I am not safe at all. And that's one thing you have to realize, not jumping off topic, but jumping off, the story. Like, you need to realize, like, if the person that you're with puts their hands on their mother or is abusive to their parents, verbally, physically, you need to go somewhere. Like, you need to say thank you very much, but no thank you, I'm done. Because you have no chance. If they cannot respect the person or the people that brought them into this world, oh no, they ain't gonna have no respect for you. That is horrible. No, you run and you don't look back. I think this is just gonna be as good as it's gonna get. Of course, one brow is thinner than the other, and I'm gonna try and work it out, but it's still better than the last time. My very first attempt ever when I was doing my story time. Still better, and that's just how it's gonna be. While Mickey was, scruffling with his parents, Francine ran across the street to pretty much hide out while the police were coming, or while the police were on the way. Mickey runs over to his parents' house and pulls Francine out of the house and starts punching her. By this time, the police come. When the police arrive, they actually see Mickey punching Francine, and they go and try and defuse the situation. Now, at this point, Mickey gets arrested because he starts to fight the police officer. He don't get arrested because he was just pawning Francine. No, he gets arrested because he started to fight the police officer. The police officer holds Mickey down, and the mother comes running out after Mickey just punches her in the face and starts yelling at the police officer to get off of Mickey because he is sick and they're gonna hurt him. But in my mind, it's like, okay, well, he's not too sick to harm the hell out of Francine. So, like, the fact that the mama is still babyfying Mickey is really starting to get under my skin. Like, it's getting on my nerves now. He just punched her in the face, and she's running out trying to defend this man. And that is why I stopped liking the mama. At this point, all respect for the mama is lost. Like, I'm very upset that she's even allowed for it to get this far. In 1984, the law was that even if the police see you putting your hands on your wife, they cannot arrest you. They was more afraid of their life when it came to that. They had to be more concerned about their safety than the woman's safety. And they said this because Domestic abuse situations were way worse to have to deal with because they can get injured diffusing the situation. And most times, after having to pretty much tackle or be fighting in the streets with the husband, the wife eventually goes back to the husband. So it's pointless. So they eventually drop the charges and go back to the husband. So they feel like doing anything on scene or harassing the husband or doing anything about the situation of domestic violence is pointless. And this pretty much went on for a while. I have to do more research because I remember seeing a story about a woman who pretty much changed the game on getting the law more involved with domestic abuse. And if I could find it, I would definitely do that story next. You know, I think that would be very interesting to see how it all pretty much started, how this woman tried to stand up for herself. And then I think the next story would be really cool on how this woman fought for the law to take domestic abuse serious for women. Okay, so yes, after Mickey got arrested, you know, I don't know how, and I don't know why. I guess maybe because it's in the physical state that he is. I don't know. I don't know how Mickey keeps getting his charges dropped from these police officers. But because of that, he was released the next day and he went back home. Now, at this point, I'm assuming he's sober. And he goes to Francine and tries to love her up and kiss her up, and she pretty much shrugged herself and was like, you know what, the next time you hit me, I'm leaving. Now that's the first sign of her standing her ground, and I was very happy when I did read this part because I'm like, yes, Francine is starting to stand her ground to Mickey. But did that stop him? No, it didn't stop Mickey. He kept doing it, and each time he would do it, it would just get worse and worse and worse. One day, Francine decided to just go over to a neighbor's house, which was probably a woman, you know, which we still do to this day. You find a neighbor that you relate to and can kick it with. So he came home one day and realized that Francine was not home, and he went outside and acted the royal fool. He acted the fool. Francine hears Mickey outside, rushes outside, and asks him what the heck is his problem. So he told her that she is not allowed to go anywhere or over anybody's house without his permission. Now, Francine, just so that, like, again, keeping the peace, just allowing him to run his mouth and make his rules and put his rules down. So because Francine told him that he was acting crazy, he got so mad and pushed her down to the ground and started kicking her in front of the children. Now, the children are seeing this, they're losing their mind, they're crying, they're screaming. At this point, Francine is just trying to get away from Mickey. So she finally breaks free from Mickey and runs over to his parents' house. She runs over to his parents' house and hides until the police come. Now, the police show up. Mickey is outside looking for Francine. Basically, obviously he probably knows that she's over at the parents' house, but they're not letting him in. The police arrive and walk up to Mickey and ask Mickey what's the deal. And he basically told them straight, I'm looking for my wife, and when I find my wife, I'm going to break her effing neck. Now, and he said this with such confidence because back then, if you made a threat to say that you was gonna kill or hurt anybody, they couldn't do nothing about it because it was a threat. Back then, threats weren't taken as serious as they do now. So he knew that they couldn't touch him or arrest him for making the threat. And yeah, he said it. He was like, when he finds his wife, which is not his wife, it's starting to really piss me off now that he considers Francine as his wife. Still, she's not his wife. So Francine comes out to the police talk to her, and at this point I think they see that she's a woman in desperate need of help. The police told Francine that file a complaint, Mickey would be charged with misdemeanor, and he will have to go on probation and be sentenced 30 days. So Francine didn't want to do it because she knows that most husbands that go before a judge get a slap on the wrist. Then once they get back home, the abuse gets way worse because of the simple fact that they try to get them in trouble with the law. So Francine knows this, and she's not trying to risk any more abuse coming her way, so she doesn't do it. So after the last attack of Mickey kicking Francine in front of the children, she found a program that helps families with low income find homes. Okay, again, I had to do my liner off. I feel so much comfortable doing it off camera. But yeah, so Francine found a program that helped her find a home for her and the children, so she started searching for a home. Now, I really don't understand how this happened. I do not understand how this happened. So apparently somebody was selling a house right next to Mickey's mother's house. Mickey's mother convinced Francine to buy that house. Francine, what? So she bought the house next door to where she was originally staying, because you remember she is Mickey's mother's neighbor as well. So she ended up just moving out of one house and buying the house next to Mickey's mother's house. Once everything had finalized, the abuse from Mickey worsened, and at that point she realized that she made a mistake by buying that house next door. Now, at this point, Mickey was considered disabled. Yeah, he was disabled enough to continue to beat Francine, though. So because he was labeled as disabled, he was able to get social insurance benefits, so basically getting a check. And because of this, he no longer worked, and he didn't help Francine at all with the money that he got. He used to just take the money and go drink, party, hang out with his friends, probably spend it on other women, because we know he's still cheating. So poor Francine, is not getting any help from Mickey, but yeah, Mickey still wants her to be the wife that she's not, because she's not his wife. And I wish Francine would have found a house somewhere else and moved away and just let Mickey run his own miserable life, So another incident was one time Mickey pulled out a knife on Francine and started chasing her. And Mickey's father was able to hold him back and stop him from actually stabbing Francine. And the police was called again. I don't understand. I'm pretty sure the police they've got to be tired of coming to this house. They have to be tired of coming to this house. So why are they not doing anything to help poor Francine get out of this situation? Because Mickey is being a disgusting bully, and it will piss me off as a police officer to have to continue to come to this house because this poor woman is being tortured. Anyway, once Francine told the police officers that Mickey was chasing her around with a knife, they arrested him, because I'm thankful that they just didn't do nothing about it. They arrested Mickey. And they told Mickey's daddy, basically, like, if we come one day and your son has a knife in his hand threatening to stab people, that they will shoot him. And Mickey's daddy weren't hearing that either. He said he will kill anybody who shoots any of his children, including Mickey. So basically, he nicely gave him a message back saying, you shoot my son, I will kill you. An eye for an eye, basically. So at this point, Francine knows that she's got very little time to try and convince Mickey's parents that he needs to be in a mental hospital before Mickey gets out of jail. So to my surprise, and probably Francine's surprise too, his mama agreed and said, you know what, I will prefer my son to be in a mental hospital rather than in jail, because he will not survive jail in the condition that he's in. Mickey's daddy was not hearing it. Mickey's daddy was so pissed off that the mama even brought that up to him that he left the house and didn't return for 3 weeks. Mickey's out of jail, and because his daddy got so pissed off about the situation, it was never brought up again, and the plan never followed through. Like, they pretty much acted like they never spoke about it. You know, I guess bringing it back up again probably would have pissed his daddy off again, and he probably would have left again. And back then, you know, especially if your husband is the breadwinner for the family, leaving for 3 weeks puts you in a hole. Things were starting to get extremely horrible. He was still lashing out on Francine, you know, still insulting her, calling her names, and now at this point he's now starting to lash out on the children. And he was starting to become very cruel to the children. And this really hurt me when I was reading this. You know, he would torture the children by locking them outside. It would be freezing and he would lock them outside the house. Or he would send them to the room without no food. Or wouldn't even allow oh no, I messed up. Or wouldn't even allow them to come out the house without any food. That was really hard for me to read. I was really low of Mickey. But was I surprised? No. You know, anything that really has to do with children, it really affects me. And that was something that affected me. Seeing that how he treated his children. I messed up. So I'm trying to save this as much as I can so that I don't have to take off all the so I don't have to take off everything and pretty much start the foundation process over. So I'm gonna just try and do it this way and hope that it all blends in the way that I want it to. If not, like I said before, I was already off to a rough start, so why stress about it now, you know? But yeah, so he was starting to be very vicious towards the children, and he wasn't changing his attitude towards Francine either. So, you know, what he would do is torture Francine, beat her up, and call her names and make her feel very extremely insecure about herself, and then try and do sexual activities with her. That ain't cool. So if she said no, he would punish her by beating her and then force himself onto her. This came out, this didn't come out the way I wanted it today, but we're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. Yeah, so she became depressed, and the only thing that really pulled her through was her children. And at this point, she was starting to regret that she left school, because maybe she could have found a job. If she had her degree, she could have found a job that would have been more sustainable for her to raise her children without having help, or, you know, being able to probably just run far away from Mickey rather than be in the situation that she is now. One day, you know, walking, she saw a flyer that pretty much stated that if you dropped out of school and you're looking to get your diploma, they had a free schooling to help you get your high school diploma. So she, surprisingly, because Mickey said yes, she can do it, she went and got it, and it seemed very easy to her, and she got it very quickly. You know? So she got her high school diploma, and she was enrolled in the adult classes. It was starting to lift her spirits, and depression was starting to fade away because she wasn't around Mickey as much due to the fact that she was taking classes. Now that she got her diploma, she was seeking for a job. She got a job, but the depression came back because she was around Mickey more. She didn't have the classes, so she was around Mickey more. And at this point, she just wanted a way out. She had enough. Mickey won't leave the house. So I'm assuming he moved out of the apartment that they was living in next door and decided to move in with Francine. At this point, the police did tell her, you know, to go back to the prosecution office. I've been saying it all wrong all this time. So the police had told her to go back to the prosecution office and see what they can just do for her. She stated to them that, you know, this is not my husband. I want him out. They basically asked her, does he drink? She said yes. They told her straight that's not their situation. She has to go to another program where they can help her try and get Mickey out because he's an alcoholic. That didn't make no sense to me, but okay, basically in a nutshell, that just made me realize this. They just didn't want to deal with Mickey and Francine's situation. I just really think this whole situation is sad because he's no longer her husband, and they're just still allowing this man to get away with basically what could be murder. So Francine was like, you know what, have the house. She went to go stay with her mama. And Mickey would go to the mama's house to pick up the children, but she set a boundary and said, yeah, you could come see your children, you could come get your children, but that's pretty much it. Don't expect for me to come back. This is not going to happen. I'm not coming back. Until you realize that I'm worth more than being your punching bag, I'm not coming back. Yeah, even though she was scared to send the children over to Mickey and his parents, she just wanted to be able to keep the peace, but she was not going back. I could understand. I would have been scared too. Just know how he treated my children in front of me, and I'm gonna let my children go with him and his. Oh gosh, I would have been petrified. To be honest, I wouldn't have done it. But one day, Mickey's mother calls Francine and tells her Mickey is a changed man. Basically, yeah, she tells Francine Mickey's a changed man. He's going to his AA meetings and he's going to church. He's a changed man. So, as time went on, Francine was starting to see it for herself. Like, okay, I ain't seen this side of, I haven't seen this Mickey since we first got together. Like, he has changed. And after a while, when Francine actually started to see him being consistent with his change, she moves back in with Mickey. She moves back in her house, and things continue to go the way they was going. Like, they still continue to go to church. He still went to his AA meetings. Things were on the up and up. It looked like Mickey finally grew up and realized that he's got a family and he needs to start taking care of his family and do what he's got to do for his family. Now, one day, Mickey, just out of the blue, comes home drunk. He had started drinking again. And he walks in and tells Francine that no woman is going to stop him and tell him that he can't have a drink. And at that point, he grabbed Francine, dragged her to the kitchen, took a knife, put it by her throat, and told her that she's not going to tell him that he can't drink. So as time went on, Francine applied again for adult education. And this time she wanted to study business in college. And she was approved. So the adult education, they helped to finance basically all her school expenses. September 1976, she started business college, and she was excited to be able to just start something new, a new chapter in life, and she made friends, something that she hasn't had since she finished, since she dropped out of high school. She didn't have friends like that, so it was refreshing for her to actually make friends that were outside of Mickey. And I wouldn't even consider Mickey as a friend, but that's the only thing she pretty much had around was Mickey and his parents. Even though she had people to talk to at school, she didn't tell nobody what she was going through at home. Even though they did see the bruises, they still didn't say nothing about it. Or they didn't question her about it, because back then, what went on in your house stayed in your house, and it was your business. It was still refreshing for Francine to just feel normal again. Just to feel normal. And she hadn't had it in a long time, so she was just gonna let it slide and just enjoy having friends. Now, Francine had to sneak studying, because if Mickey saw Francine studying, it would piss him off, and she didn't want him to ruin any of her school supplies or hit her, because he saw her trying to better herself, and in his mind, he always told her that she was stupid, she was wasting her time because she's not going to succeed these classes, she's not going to pass, so she's just wasting her time by studying. And because of this, and because he saw her trying to better herself, he tormented her even worse. I guess it was jealousy, because you gotta remember in part 1, Mickey dropped out of school as well. He dropped out of school early and was working when he met Francine. He was already out of school, he was just working. So seeing Francine go back to school and try and make something out of herself, I feel like he was jealous, and he was just picking on her because she was doing something with her life. Came to the point, like, one situation was that he had choked her, and it's really sad to have to say this sentence like this, but he choked her longer than normal. Like, that's horrible to say, longer than normal. And at that point, she thought she was gone. She was telling herself, you know what, this is it. This is it for me. He's not letting me go, and I'm gonna die today. That's exactly what she was telling herself. And, you know, just like that, he let her go, and she was able to take one serious gasp of air. She ran out the house and sped off. And she realized that, you know, as she sped off, she looked in her mirror and realized Mickey is speeding, following behind her. And he tries to run her off the road. Like, damn, Mickey. Okay, so this is the color that I've made. I don't know, I think I showed it in a previous video. So this is the purple that I've made. I put it, anything that I do for myself, I put it in these little tubes because I don't want to waste my business tubes. Come on now. So this is the purple that I've made, and I love it. It dries nicely. It doesn't have a crunchy feeling on the lips. A lot of my customers say my lipstick don't make the lips feel dry. Now, a lot of people need to realize when you have a vegan lipstick or organic lipstick, you're going to feel the difference between a non-organic or non-vegan makeup product. It's not going to leave your skin feeling dry. It's going to keep, even though this is matte and it has a dry look, your lips not going to feel dry at all. Not crunchy, you know, and I love it. So this is what it looks like. So yeah, so as Francine sped off, she looked in her mirror and realized that Mickey was following her, and he tried to run her off the road. And in a frantic, she looked and saw that a police officer was in a parking lot, in the store parking lot, and she ran and she sped into the parking lot, hoping to get the attention of the police officer, which it did. It got the attention of the police officer. Mickey did not care that it was a police officer there, and he would... Let me slow down. Mickey did not care that the police officer was there, and he still attempted to just attack Francine, you know, and try to run her out of her car, or run her off the road, and pretty much have a car wreck. At this point, Francine's running to the police car. Mickey jumps out the car and tries to get to Francine. The police jump out and get Mickey before he gets to Francine, and they put cuffs on him. They put handcuffs on him right away, which I'm glad that... I know a lot of police officers back then didn't want to get in between husband and wife domestic disputes, but I'm glad that they was able to take control of this situation, because I don't know why Mickey was in such a rage, but he wanted to kill Francine. He wanted to kill her like that day. He said the look in his eyes is that she felt he really wanted to kill her that day. So now that Francine knows that the police witnessed him trying to run her off the road and even throwing threats at her, she went to the prosecution office again, hoping that she can charge with attempted murder because he tried to run her off the road. By doing that, they was able to look at Mickey's records and realize like he is breached his probation. He's supposed to be on probation and he's acting crazy like this. So they said that she just has to wait for them to pick him up now. It's not in their hands. Basically, the probation officer has to go and pick him up. Now, I'm going to use my chimney cleaner, and I am going to put a little shimmer, being that I don't want to put the gold, but being that I'm got like a purple look. I think it will look nice with a nice little highlighter or above the cheek. Overall, I thought I was gonna fail this whole look, but for some reason it just all turns out to be decent. It's not like, ooh, oh my god, extravagant, but it's decent. It's good enough. It's good enough to finish this video and feel good about my look. Okay, but just getting back to the story because I'm about to wrap it up shortly, so, and then I will continue next week. I'll continue episode 2 next week, but just to wrap it up, so Maxine, oh god, I hope I haven't been calling her Maxine this whole time. Oh man. Francine was told to call back so that she could talk to the officer that arrested Mickey, basically to let him know that he needs to go from where he is and get arrested from his probation officer so that he can be charged or just remain in jail for breaching his probation. By the time she called back, the officer had said Mickey was already released. So now she has to wait until the probation officer finds Mickey in order to arrest him. Francine, hoping that they would find Mickey, she stayed at Mickey's stepsister's house. And time was like, days were going by and Mickey was still at the house. They didn't go and arrest him. And, you know, Francine was starting to run out of money and they needed food. And, you know, at that point, Mickey, he was sober and told her she don't need to be scared to come back home because it's not going to hurt her. And running out of options, unfortunately, Francine went back home. And when she went home, the house was still in the same state that Mickey had left it in the night that he tried to run her off the road. Broken glass all over the place, and it was a hot mess. The house was a hot mess. So when she walked in and saw the state that it was in and realized that Mickey didn't even attempt to clean nothing because he wanted her to do it when she got home, he told her, welcome home, you dumb bee. You have a lot of cleaning to do. So he waited and left the house in that condition until she came home so she can clean it herself. Now, 3 weeks go by, not 3 days, 3 weeks go by and Mickey is finally arrested. That is horrible. 3 weeks? Really? So he's finally arrested and he was sentenced to 45 days, but only did 8 because the jail was full. Yeah, I'm gonna stop there because I would like to continue on episode 2 on how this story it shocks you, because it surely shocked me. So on that note, I'm going to leave you with a spray, of course, but do not forget to comment, subscribe, share, hit that notification button so that you know when the next video is going to pop up, episode 2. And, you know, be brave, beautiful, handsome, and strong. And I will see you next week.
Some days I'm not myself. There's no one I can turn to.